Aquila, Mari imposita, Sexto Pompeo superato. La voce della incontinenza.
An earthly paradise called Capo Milazzo the Milazzi does not know, has never understood, or, worse still, pretends not to have understood that in the land of Sicily God has given him an earthly paradise. And let's see why. Climate: the average annual rainfall is 65 mm with an uneven distribution but with greater concentration in the autumn-winter period. The average summer temperature records values of about 26 degrees. The winter temperature of 12 degrees. The low humidity of the area is a characteristic element of the Mediterranean climate. It can be defined as a thermo-Mediterranean character. It can be defined as an attenuated type. Preferential wind direction WE. Fauna: the typical species of the Mediterranean scrub. In particular we will have European hedgehog, wild mouse, house mouse, fox, weasel, bat, wild conure, moscardino, cimlato. Bird life: sparrowhawk, swallow, cuckoo, kestrel. Birds of the reserve of Capo Milazzo. Birds are the best indicators of the health of an environment and from their presence or absence, in quantitative and qualitative terms.
Allora, benvenuti con noi per dare un'occhiata alla riserva di Capo Milazzo.
Welcome with us to take a look at the head reserve. You have seen the depths of the bay, now we enter and we go to the lookout. We walk along the ancient paths that ran along Elena Baeli, who lived in these shady lands where he went to ride his horse. In reality, through a disappointment of love, she threw herself from the rocks with her horse. But this is a sad story and her ghost appears on full moon night. But let's move on. The importance of a given area can be established. Numerous visits were made for which it was possible to draw up the list below. Some species have been observed only in transit, being mainly aquatic. In need therefore of marshes or streams for the stop. This does not mean that the area is important, intact as it is currently, even for them. Furthermore, eastern Sicily is affected by a notable migratory flow of birds flying to and from Africa. The migration is in fact both autumn and spring, and millions of birds leave Sicily from Capo Milazzo, heading towards the Aeolian Islands and from there in the rest of Europe. Among the vegetation, the rocks, the natural hiding places, they find refuge from the predators. They rest after the exhausting efforts of the trip. They take refuge feeding themselves on insects, fruits of the typical Mediterranean vegetation of the area. Big predators, like eagles and hawks, hunt rodents and small birds, sometimes insects. It is essential that they find in this natural springboard towards the Tyrrhenian Sea a safe and rich place for food for them, as well as during the outward journey to Africa, after having traveled hundreds of kilometers of open love. In fact, they are threatened species all over Europe, and the EU has launched safeguard projects for years. An earthly paradise called Capo Milazzo the Milazis does not know, has never understood, or, worse still, pretends not to have understood that in the land of Sicily God has given him an earthly paradise. And let's see why. The natural vegetation consists above all of essence typical of the Mediterranean, even if in a diversified manner compared to the pedological nature of the territory, its morphology, the exposure of the slopes and the prevailing winds. We find the scrubland vegetation along the coastal slopes spread on degraded soils and on very rugged terrain. Rupicolous vegetation is instead located in the rocky ravines and is characterized by a fragmented halophyte vegetation scattered along the coast. The action of the prevailing winds to the west diversifies the development of the vegetation of the eastern slopes from the western ones of the Cape. In fact, the former have a higher degree of humidity than the latter. The shrubby vegetation along the Dilavant slope, in association with other lianas and various herbs and shrubs, Rubia peregrina, Lonicera inflexa, Teucrium flavium, Racemius, Anemone hortensis and Asparagus acutifolius, is characterized by the presence of Pistacia lentiscus and broom of Spain, Spartium junceum, as well as from Euphorbia dendroides, which is a xerothermophila plant like the Opuntia, the Artemisia arborescens, the European Olea sylvestris. As for Asphodelus fistulosus, the action of the salt has favored the development of halophyte entities typical of rocky coasts, both near the sea and inside. The northeastern area presents geobotanical emergencies characterized by a rich vascular flora consisting of species typical of the Mediterranean scrub, which also include Olivastro, Lentiscio and Artemisia.
E tutto questo per insistere che la riserva del Capo è naturale ed è un bene prezioso. Ringraziamo il Logos che ha creato questi posti, speriamo che nessuno lo distrugga, e lanceremo questo video in 3 lingue per essere compresi dal mondo intero. Grazie e arrivederci.